My name is Bond.
James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin.
That's not funny, 007.
For England, James? No.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Enter The BondVerse. I am one of your hosts, Scott, Kyle Scott. I am of course joined by my wonderful co-host. Introduce yourself.
The name's Nathan. Tinny Nathan.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Absolutely. I'll tell you who didn't nail it.
Who didn't nail it?
That damn fraud James Bond.
Well, yes. So we are here today to talk about the first, not technically the first Bond movie, but the first movie in the Bond canon proper, I guess you would call it.
It's Eon film, it's MGM, yeah, it's theirs.
Yes. Dr. No, 1962's Dr. No.
I think it's a great title.
Sure.
I love it.
This is a strange movie to start to go with, because the thing with this movie is they haven't quite figured it out yet.
How did this movie get 62 years of content?
Look, okay. I guess we'll start off with opinions, shall we? General overall thoughts.
Sure, we have, why not? We've got to start somewhere in this new series we're doing.
Nathan, we're very good at structure, as always.
We're so good at structure. So, what do you think, Kyle? Tell us. Tell everyone.
More like Dr. No worth watching, am I right? No, okay. It's
brilliant.
This movie's not... I think my main problem with watching this movie is just that it's very old, right? It's a movie from the 60s and it feels like a movie from the 60s. This movie, Nathan, predates the moon landing.
Yes, it does. You can get movies from the 60s that hold up.
You can. There's some specific, obvious dated stuff that we'll get into, right? But moreover, there's a character to dialogue written in the 60s, which is just kind of boring a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's like and then this happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of very dry dialogue scenes in this movie.
I'm here for it. I think I like this film more than you.
I'm not surprised.
I love Three Blind Mice. Why don't we just go from the start? The second this film starts, Kyle, it's immediately recognisable as a James Bond movie.
Yes, this movie has the James Bond theme, which for some reason I thought that would be a later addition.
Oh, we're right off the bat, Kyle. I've seen this movie before. Is this your first time coming to this?
Yes, this is my first time seeing this movie.
Right, okay, so I've seen this before. I actually think I liked it more this time than I have the two previous times I've seen it. The first two times I've seen it, Kyle, I thought this film was a chore.
Okay.
And I think I actually kind of enjoyed it this time.
I guess you knew which parts you could be on your phone for, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. A lot of stuff with geologists, yeah.
Yes, there is. What I was going to say is this movie, I'm sure we'll get into this as this podcast goes on, the Bond movies are quite formulaic, right?
It has been said.
And this movie hasn't quite figured out all the parts of the formula yet, you know?
Yeah.
We've got a money penny and we've got an M, but we don't have a Q yet.
No Q yet.
Which also means we don't have any gadgets yet.
We have one gadget, Kyle.
Oh yes, of course. My favourite Bond gadget, a Geiger counter. Just a regular Geiger counter.
You've got to start simple. And you know what? This is the 60s. We're all in a world of radiation, Kyle.
Oh, sure, yeah. This is Cold War adjacent for sure.
Yeah, you talk about how, and obviously, these the books that they're based on were all written before this. We're all in the nuclear arms race, Cold War kind of stuff, This is nukes, it's the fiction of the time.
The Red Menace, all that.
Oh, yeah, those filthy commies.
The other thing is they have the Bond theme, and the Bond theme is great, obviously, right? They nailed it the first time around, but they don't quite know how to use it yet.
Yeah, they just kind of throw it in whenever, James Bond says a syllable.
It's like, okay, James Bond is walking out of an airport, I guess we'll play the Bond theme now.
Yeah, or, he just is introduced, he's sitting in a casino, and they're like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Really? He's, walking out, he's getting his winnings at the casino.
Yes. and it's like
See, I was going to say that this film is awkwardly edited at the start.
Yes.
Like the gun barrel feels like it's off-center.
Yes, it does. It's like off-center, not quite synced up right or something.
Yeah, and then the Bond music kind of starts playing after he's already started walking.
Yes. Well, this movie doesn't have like the traditional Bond intro yet, right?
No.
It just plays the Bond theme.
We got three blind
for the
mice,
intro.
Cal.
Three blind mice, yes. That caught me so off guard because it's like a weird hard cut between the Bond theme and then they start singing Three Blind Mice.
Yeah, absolutely. But also they started to loop it because I love all the Technicolor flashing dots.
Oh, it's very 60s.
But I love it, right? I think they're the most sort of uniform part of the movie that doesn't look like it's off center. And but they do it for so long they have to loop the Bond theme, but it's not a clean loop.
Yes.
It awkwardly starts and restarts like they've hit play on a new tape.
Yeah. I wonder, like, was this, you would know this better than me, was this considered like a big budget movie at the time? Or was this kind of a scrappy underdog movie?
I'm going to shock you, Kyle.
Uh-huh.
Don't have a clue.
Okay, well,
Don't have a clue.
what good are you then?
Yeah, I know, I'm a bit worthless. I currently have a list of the cast in front of me, Kyle, and my notes. That's both what I got. Let's look at the budget,
Right.
shall we? Let's live research, folks. We'll edit some of the dead space down, because it's going to be...
As if we're going to be able to do the maths on what those budgets mean today.
Oh, Kyle, I have notes about inflation in this.
Well, yes.
I do have... I have an inflation section, Kyle, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. I know that it received mixed critical reception, according to Wikipedia. Blithering Bounder, a great big hairy marshmallow who almost manages to seem slightly silly. Yeah.
I have it here that Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 95%, but I think that's just the power of retrospect talking there.
This is strange.
Uh-huh.
The Vatican commented on this film.
Oh, what did the Vatican have to say, Nathan?
They said it was a dangerous mixture of violence, vulgarity, sadism, and sex. Kyle, the Kremlin spoke about it.
Okay.
They stated that Bond was the personification of capitalist evil. Both controversies helped increase public awareness of the film and greater cinema attendance.
Oh my god, the 60s.
Yeah. A Daily Express columnist wrote, Dr. No's fun all the way, and even the sex is harmless.
It's... You know what? Like, it's funny that we've come full circle on, like, sex scenes and stuff in this movie, because I don't think the existence of sex scenes even fazed me for a second in this movie.
No, I mean, why would it, right?
I was more fazed by some of Mr. Bond's obvious sexism, but that's a different story.
We have a ready-made hero in this film. There ain't no hero's journey. Bond is the same person at the start as he is at the end, and then this is also the exact distilled version of Bond people talk about when they mention the Bond franchise, right?
Well, yes. That's kind of the case with a lot of Bond movies, though.
Well, yeah,
Bond is Bond, you know?
Yeah, but I'm meaning this for, like, this is the first film, and, like, this is it.
It doesn't introduce him at all. It's just like, Colin Bond, and then we cut to Bond, and he's being James Bond.
Yeah, exactly right. He's not like, in Down Craig's Casino Royale, which we'll get to in 6 months' time, or he's not a 00 yet. He just gets promoted. He's a bit of a rough geezer type. This could have been the second or the third Sean Connery Bond movie, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yes.
This is just it's like a pulp comic magazine,
Sean Connery, by the way, young Sean Connery, he's looking good.
Looking really
you gotta
good.
give it to him.
Yeah, what's your favourite Bond costume in this film?
Oh, well, obviously it's where he dresses up in, like, Chinese regalia.
Oh, really?
Clearly, and that brown gi.
Yeah, I like that. My favourite outfit's his little blue denim number for going to the beach.
That one's pretty good too.
With the high waist and the tucked in blue polo. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a good look.
Lot of good 60s fashion.
A lot of good. So, like, even though we're saying that, like, the film doesn't have the Bond formula down yet, I think it has
It's got some of the elements.
I think it has
I will say that.
Character of Bond down immediately.
Oh yeah. He's got his quips. He's very, like, he's this weird mix of sometimes incompetent and sometimes very competent.
Yeah.
Which is very Bond.
No, yes,
He's sex crazed.
Yeah, so, like, He says, like, both hands on the wheel, Mr. Jones. I'm a very nervous passenger. You know?
Oh yeah, Sean Connery's accent in this movie is, it's in all his movies. He's only okay at vaguely attempting an English accent.
I don't even think he's trying. I think he sounds so incredibly Scottish.
I think he is trying.
Is he? I think he's just sounding like he's Southern Scottish. Because this film would have you believe James Bond is a Scottish person. I mean, apart from in the books, he is Scottish, I suppose. He's raised in Scotland, but like he's English originally or German. I don't know.
I have not read the books, to be
clear. But,
like,
he has his quips. Like, so here's, like, one of my favourite quips, right? So he takes his driver out, right? And he drives him to the government building. And he takes him to, like, the doorman, and he's sitting in the back seat of the car, dead, keep in mind. And he's like, Sergeant, make sure this man doesn't get away.
It's pretty good.
Well, yeah, but surely you need to explain to him, sorry, I'm working with MI5, I'm 00, and this man tried to kill me. Instead of, like, could I do this? If I had enough rids, Kel, could I drive a dead body to a government building and tell the doorman, don't let him get away, and then walk inside?
Okay, well, yeah, I think we should roughly explain what the plot of this movie is, I guess.
Let's do a better effort than this film does at explaining that.
Yes, well, that is the issue, is for a lot of this movie, I was entirely unclear what the main villain's plan actually was.
I had to go onto Reddit. There's a Reddit thread from 8 years ago talking about it.
Let me try and guess, okay?
Right.
Let me try and put this together, because I haven't looked it up. This is just based on watching the movie.
Okay.
Okay, so Dr. No is... The US government is launching rockets because we're in the space race era now, right? We haven't made it to the moon yet, but we are sending up rockets, and I think they say something that they're planning to do a full rotation of the moon or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. No is planning to sabotage those rockets with lasers or like radio waves, something like that.
Yeah, to mess up their engines.
It's question mark. Profit? I don't know why he's doing this.
Well, Kyle, as the film will go on to note later on, Kyle, he works for the Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge and Extortion, right?
Yes, Spectre.
Which just means I'm a bad guy doing bad things, right? That's
right. Okay.
Austin Powers knew this, right?
It's he's an agent of chaos.
Yes, like they literally call the bad guy of Austin Powers Dr. Evil, right? Which is a straight parody on this. He stands for nothing. He's just out to get you. He's mustache twirling mother trucker, and I think like he wants money. He's extorting them, right? I think maybe he wants to be like, I will let your rockets rise for X amount of money. Maybe he wants like the Russians, the Chinese, like he's working for the Chinese, right? Or he ran away from the Chinese. He was like the head of like the gangster, right?
He was in the Chinese like mafia yakuza. Yeah, and he like robbed them and ran away to America.
With I have this here, Kel. He ran away with. Oh, I took a note.
It was like $100 million in yen or something like that.
So I didn't note it, but I did Google it and I just didn't write it down. But I do remember it. So it was $10 million in gold bullion, right?
Right. Okay.
In 2024, Kyle, that is worth $104 million, right?
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. I don't think it would get you that though.
You don't think it would get you a secret underground island lair?
I honestly don't. Or if it did, it would get you that and nothing else, right?
Yeah, most of this movie set in Jamaica.
Set in Jamaica. Gorgeous place for it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And this is where Ian Fleming wrote his books in Jamaica, you know. GoldenEye, the name of his estate, which then is used as the name of a film later in life. The Bond franchise likes to use Jamaica occasionally. No Time to Die, the last Daniel Craig, the most recent Bond movie at time of recording. That opens in Jamaica, you know. Like, Jamaica's kind of a thread through the franchise a little bit, you know.
Yeah, well, Bond initially gets pulled into this because the opening with three blind mice, the three blind mice are, like, I guess, henchmen, assassins who are pretending to be blind. Yeah. I don't know why they're pretending to be blind.
Maybe because people always look over disabled people and don't take them seriously, don't like to see them as a threat, maybe.
I guess so. But yeah, they come in and they kill this guy who it turns out is a British spy. Yeah. Right. And also his assistant.
His secretary who can use the radio.
I'm not clear. His secretary.
Yeah, because they don't think he's dead. They think he ran off with the secretary.
Right, okay. And that's why Bond initially gets involved, is he's figuring out what happened to this spy who died.
Yep, M sends him there.
Do we have to address that Bond is a pussy baby who uses a woman's
Oh,
gun?
he uses a fucking Beretta. What a fucking woman, eh? Yeah,
I
Bond.
think the exact line is like, it's a great gun for a woman's handbag.
Yeah,
or
that's
something
exactly
like
the
that.
line. So I've got my notes here. Yeah, Bond, get that womanly Beretta out of here. It's all about the Walther PPK, which the CIA swear by.
It's such a weird scene.
Because apparently the Beretta jammed on him in his last job, Kyle, and he spent 6 months in the hospital. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Did he get shot?
And Bond seems really attached to this gun. Like, he tries to sneak it out with him and all this. Like, he loves this gun.
I think that James Bond actually just, like, believes in, like, women autonomy. And he's like, if it's good enough for a woman, it's good enough for me. You know?
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I am sure about that. He's a big believer in women making their own choices, as long as he makes them make their own choices.
James Bond is a famous feminist.
He is famous feminist. Did you see how he treated Moneypenny? He respected her. He did not exploit government property, Kyle.
He only called her government property. That's
But
fine.
he didn't exploit her. Because that would be wrong, and he respects boundaries.
We do get some belter Bond names in this one. Not the best of the franchise, but we're starting off strong. I have a couple noted down here. The first is the lady who he meets in the casino, this opening scene, which I assumed would have something to do later in the movie, but that never comes up again.
She shows up in the hotel room, Kyle, playing golf in his big jammy top.
Isn't that just his apartment?
Maybe it's his apartment. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because when I saw that, I'm like, James Bond, don't sleep with the lady who broke into your apartment. She's obviously a spy or something. But no, it's just...
It's just there to say
just
he's
a thing.
a womanizer, Kyle.
Yes. Anyway, her name is Sylvia Trench.
She is.
Which is...
And this is why I call
name?
Bond a hack.
Uh-huh.
Because he says, and what is your name? And she says, Trench, Sylvia Trench. So he responds just copying her language pattern by saying Bond, James Bond, right? And now everyone associates that with him. It's the Bond
Right.
line. The name is Bond. No, he just
But
copied
really, it's the
Sylvia.
Trench line.
Yeah, it's the Trench line. It's the name's Trench, Sylvia Trench. She said that he copied her. That's it.
Isn't this just the story of history, men taking credit for women's accomplishments?
You're so right, Kyle. You're so right. This is why it's art. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
This movie has a lot of really important things to say.
I think so as well. I completely agree with you, Kyle. So go on, give us some more names. We've Trench, Sylvia Trench.
Sylvia Trench, the main female, like the Bond girl of this movie, I guess, is Honey Rider.
Oh yeah, we
It
do.
doesn't show up until about an hour into the movie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, some of the best films have good twists for who your lead actually is, right?
Uh-huh.
And, Psycho...
Is it a twist when the character just shows up over the halfway point of the movie and is just like, oh, I'm also on this island? For unrelated reasons.
It's not a twist, but a reveal, Kyle. A reveal.
Right, okay. Honey Rider, though.
Yeah, good for her. Honey Rider. She's a gangster.
She spends at least half of her screen time in a bikini.
Yep, good for her. She got to get that tan. Kyle, she got a Golden Globe Award for New Star of the Year.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Good on her,
Good
I
on
guess.
Ursula Andress. A Swiss actress. Still alive, Kyle.
That's nice.
Yeah, I honestly thought everyone in this film was dead.
I mean, this movie is what, 60 years old at this point?
This film is as old as my mother.
Anyway, yeah, so James Bond, he goes to Jamaica. He does the thing with the car, which you already mentioned, because he finds out that, like, the car is fake.
Good for him. Good competent move. He calls ahead. He's like, did you send a car for me?
Yes. Well, also, there's, like, a lady who's taking pictures of him, and there's also a suspicious guy with sunglasses, but he's actually a red herring.
Yeah, that's a good old Felix Leiter, Kyle.
Good old Jeffrey Rush.
Good old
yeah.
Jeffrey Rush. Not Jeffrey Rush. He's the Watcher from Marvel.
Yeah, he plays Felix Leiter in the new movies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Yeah. It's Felix Leiter.
It's
James Bond's
Wait,
American knockoff.
Why isn't Jeffrey Rush Barbosa?
I thought Jeffrey Rush was the Watcher.
Cast of the Batman. It's Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey
goddamn.
Rush is Captain Barbossa, Kyle.
I was close. I was close.
Yeah, you caught me. I was like, I don't think you're right there.
Well, thank you for catching me.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let that slip. Jeffrey Wright's a good actor. And
They're both good actors. Jeffrey Rush is a great actor.
Yeah, I think if he was Felix Leiter, though, I would notice.
Yes, well. Yeah, Felix Leiter does not have much to do in this movie.
Do not get attached to good old Jack Lord in this film, Kev. He never returns. If I advise you not to look up the Wikipedia page for Felix Leiter and who played him, because it's there's more people who played Felix Leiter than there are main characters in this film.
Amazing. Is he just here to appeal to the American audience? It's like, hey, look, we have a cool spy guy too.
I think he's just like the CIA liaison that's already on the ground doing work there.
Yeah.
He's there to get Quarrel on side.
Yes, everyone's favourite character, Quarrel.
I quite like Quarrel.
I quite like Quarrel. I was sad when he died.
Yeah, I forgot he died. I was like, what the hell are you doing, Quarrel? Shooting that big metal tank.
I mean, James Bond told him to shoot it.
You just try to get people killed.
Yeah, I mean, Quarrel is the real workhorse of this movie, you know? He's the one doing all the legwork.
He's doing all that legwork. He painting boats, he taking cover, he using guns, he carrying shoes. Remember when Bond's like, get my shoes, I'll take the woman.
Yes, I do remember that.
Uh-huh. But yeah, lots of stuff going on here. Do you want another inflation note, Kyle?
Okay,
Speaking of the beach, where he's like, get my shoes, I'll take the women, right? Mm-hmm. So she obviously Bond's like, I need to get Honey Rider off this island ASAP. Get in your boat, woman. Get in your boat and leave.
Yes.
And because the guardsmen coming by in the boat, they shoot holes in her boat. And
yes.
She's like, I'm not going to leave like these seashells. They're worth $50, $50. Mm-hmm. Kill $50 USD in 2024 is $522.
Those are some valuable ass shells.
Those
to be
are
fair.
some valuable ass shells. Now, would you leave those shells on the beach, Keller? Would you be on the same side as Honey Rider?
I think if I was being shot by high power machine guns, that would change the metrics a little bit.
But Kyle,
you know?
we are capitalist evil.
That's true. We are.
Personified.
We are. What did the Kremlin call us?
Personified
the embodiment
evil
of
capitalism or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh.
The review's gone now, but yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah.
So you take the seashells, I reckon. You end up in Dr. No's secret underground volcano lair.
Well, I mean, we're jumping way ahead here because we have to talk about the geologist and the spider, obviously.
Do we need to?
I want to talk about the spider.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I mean, like, the middle of this movie is definitely where it drags the most, where Bond doesn't know what's going on yet, and is just sort of doing, like, investigative work.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, a mini-boss of this movie who's this evil geologist man.
Yep.
And there's lots of conversations about rocks and the makeup of rocks, and it turns out these rocks were radioactive, but he lied about the rocks being radioactive. He said they were nothing.
He's been paid off by Dr. No.
Yes. And then that man goes to Dr. No's island, and there's like a room in Dr. No's lair that's just got like a chair that's on a slight ledge. It's a very strange set.
I think there's some shots in this movie that I think are genuinely quite nice, and it's always the wide angle low floor shot, right? And it's like when James Bond shows up in his apartment and Sylvia Trench is playing golf, right? And it's this big wide shot where your camera focuses on the golf balls on the ground, not Bond, even though he's running around in his socks because he's like, someone's in my apartment, you know?
Well, yeah, he kicks his shoes off to make less noise.
Yeah, very smart. So. He's competent.
Sometimes
when he wants to be. I thought it was a very nice shot, and then we get that same shot again in Dr. No's lair when the geologist walks in, and it's a big wide shot of the floor. The floor looks like a stage, and then there's a little raised point with one chair.
That shot though, right? Because we have him, he's shouting up, but there's like this disembodied voice of Dr. No talking to him.
Yeah.
And then Dr. No says, like, go over to the table and pick that up. He could have, the geologist, like, the camera pans so that we can see the spider in a cage. Yeah. But, like, from his perspective, the geologist's perspective, he would have been seeing that spider the whole time. He would have seen it the moment he walked in the room.
Yeah, but he didn't know that's what it was for. Like, right, he's waiting to be told what to do with it, or if it's ever going to come up at all. You know, you walk into a room, you don't go, there's a pen on this desk, it must be relevant.
Something I do really enjoy about this movie, though, is how casual Bond is about people trying to kill him.
Yeah, he sets up little traps in his hotel room in Jamaica. He's like leaving like string wire on cupboards.
Yeah, he leaves string wire to kind of gauge if someone
Been in.
has opened the door or not.
Yeah, if someone's been in, like they hide. I thought it was in case someone was hiding in the cupboard, like they'd be waiting for him, then they would jump out.
Yeah, but he doesn't check the cupboard, so I don't know what that was actually for.
Yeah, maybe in case someone was looking around, and then he thinks someone's tampered with the vodka, so he decides to open a new bottle.
Yeah.
Why not check the ice, Bond? The ice could have been laced.
And then he just goes to bed like nothing's his problem, even though he knows that someone has been in his room.
Yeah, that would freak me out.
Yeah, I would not go to. I would maybe pretend to go to sleep, but I wouldn't actually go to sleep. I would be sitting there with my gun ready, you know.
Kelly's a tired man. He's getting used to the Jamaican heat. He's jet lagged.
And then someone releases a spider into his room.
Yeah.
And the editing is very funny.
It's so clear that when it's climbing up him, it's either on some sort of glass plate between him and it, or it's just not there, or it's a puppet.
I think my gauge was it was actually like different layers of footage, right? It's like shot on shot,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So I'm saying glass layer, but shot on shot would make sense, because it's so clear not crawling on him.
Yes.
And then...
There's a shot of it crawling up his arm, which is clearly on like a stunt double, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
It's this on like the spider handler, probably.
yeah. And then when you see hit Bond's face and the spider, it's clearly not even like climbing on... Because, you know, it's climbing on a flat surface.
Yeah,
on top of
it's
him.
not reacting to the curves of his body at all.
Yeah.
And then, but I tell you what, Sean Connery does very good face acting when you get the close up of just him, like he's sweating. Also, why assume this is foul play? You have big open Venetian blind windows in
Yeah, it's Jamaica.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's big spiders.
Yeah, it's a hot climate. I'm sure they have big insects. Like what? And then, like, see when he jumps out the bed, Kel, and he whips it over because it's on his face.
Yeah.
And he dramatically punches it to death with something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like psycho stings as he smashes the spider.
Yeah,
It's like, dee, dee, dee.
Yeah, right. Every hit, there's a big beat of the drum, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I don't act like this when I get a spider. You know, I know we, the audience,
I would
know it's
act like
foul.
that if there was. I would act like that if there was a massive spider. To be fair.
Yeah, but I don't. I
Like,
don't think
that
I'd-
would freak me out.
I don't think I'd be surviving some big attack. Like the film treats it very dramatic. It's not that dramatic if you're him, you know.
Oh yeah, this sort of thing happens to Bond all the time. Is what you're
I
saying?
know, but I mean, like he's in a big tropical country. He's got the windows open. There's a spider in his room. Sure, get rid of it. Even kill it if you like. But like, it's not this big moment. I don't think it is to us because we're the audience and we know it's an evil spectre spider. But he doesn't know it's a spectre spider.
I mean, I suppose not.
You know, that's all I'm saying. That's all. Listen,
Okay,
the film's got a
you're
lot of
right.
weird stuff going on.
Nathan, it's a valid nitpick.
It's a valid nitpick. You know what else a valid nitpick, Kyle?
Uh-huh.
Bond is having a medium dried vodka martini, mixed, not stirred.
Just like he asked
Just
for.
like, yeah, you always ask for that. My famous Bond line, give me a martini mixed, not stirred. You know?
That's what I'm saying. We don't have all of these things down quite yet.
Yeah. Well, no, to be fair, later in the movie, when he goes to Dr. No's lair, they do say shaken, not stirred. And then they give...
because for some reason Dr. No knows
And then,
Bond's...
and then Honey Rider
drink
gets
order.
whatever old red wine they've got on hand. They don't ask her, they don't know her drink order.
Yeah, the Dr. No's henchmen, they don't really know what to do with Honey Rider.
Yeah.
They're just like, I guess she's also here.
Yeah, they just kind of give her the room off to
We
the
really
side.
only care about Bond.
Yeah, who only care about Bond. To be fair, though, he was the spy they've been waiting for. She's just the trespasser they know comes to the island a lot but don't do anything about.
Well, there is one more Bond lady in this movie, and I cannot remember her name. It's like Madam something.
It's the government building head secretary.
The government building secretary who's obviously a spy.
Yep, keeps looking
Which
through
I do
keyholes.
like the scene where Bond tricks her, because he's like, can I exit out that door? And the guy's like, sure, I guess.
Yes, go for it. Yeah, and she's right there and he goes, you know, that's a naughty habit.
Uh-huh.
You know, from that moment he wants to go back to her house.
Yes, well, Bond he uses his seductive charms.
Yeah, that Scottish wit of his.
And that is a fun scene, because on the way up they try and murder him. Or, like, they get into a high-speed car chase
Yes,
with some
you know,
some more real, like, shot-on-shot stuff that looks kind of funny.
the tension of that race just goes out of control near the end.
It's another good Bond clip, though. When it goes off the thing and explodes on the way down the car.
You do
And
it. You
he
do
leans
it.
over and he goes, I think they were on their way to a funeral.
Yes! Oh, I love it. We're going to be doing a quip counter, aren't we? Yeah, Bond, that's what they were doing. The car exploded.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the funeral. It's like, I guess, obviously the joke is they all died.
Yes,
right?
oh, that's the haha.
But, like, the guy just standing there watching over is like, what the fuck did you just say? Those people just died.
No, they died. They died. Who's this white Scottish man that's just made a quip about this horrible tragedy that's happened off the edge of a cliff? This'll be in the newspaper. And you're, you know. And this weird foreigner came along and started making quips. I hope they have insurance. God.
There is also times in this movie where Bond just gets unfathomably lucky. Like, there's a point where the three blind mice are trying to shoot him from across the street, and just as they're about to take a shot, a car drives past and saves him. It's like, that Bond didn't have anything to do with that. That was just pure luck that he didn't get shot right there.
Yeah, you're right. That was pure luck. He's a lucky man, that James Bond.
He's like John 117. He's got luck on his side.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. This is John Bond.
John Bond.
Yeah. This is John Bond.
Anyway, that leads to a fun scene with the secretary lady, because he gets to the house and she's like, "Oh, you're supposed to be dead."
It's like, "Oh, you told me to come over." He's like, "Yeah, just not so soon."
I feel obligated to point out also that I'm fairly sure that this is a white lady playing a Chinese character, because it's the 60s.
I never got that vibe. She did look vaguely foreign. I just thought she wasn't. I wouldn't have said she was Chinese though.
I think based on like what they've done with the makeup, and she's always wearing like Chinese outfits. She also works for Dr. No, so
yeah, and she has or Dr. No rather does have Chinese actors or Malaysians or just Oriental actors working for him.
Yes. Well, Dr. No's a whole different story. But
yeah, he is, isn't he? Okay, I suppose that would contextually make sense given his staff and given what his backstory is.
There is something about the way that like kisses happen in this movie. Like, Bond is a very aggressive kisser. Did you notice this? He's like smashing his face against that lady.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I bet she was into it, not in character, but the actor, right? Sean Connery was like the world's hottest man, right?
Sure, yeah.
And like he's going for it, He ain't acting.
Yeah, there's good stuff in that scene. He pretends he's calling a taxi when really he's calling the government building to have this lady arrested.
Yep.
And then he waits for the inevitable assassin to come, and while he's waiting, he just plays some solitaire.
Yeah, he plays solitaire. He shoots him in the back. Like, he gets him down and he's turned around and he just sits there and shoots. Jesus Christ, Bond. You shot him in the back.
Oh, Bond's a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, but James Bond's a psychopath.
Oh, yeah.
That's
going to be a running theme through this podcast.
A white, privileged, lucky. He's like an evil version of Domino from Deadpool 2.
He's an embodiment of the evils of capitalism, Nathan.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I agree. I frankly agree with the Vatican as well. He's a sadist. So after this, we kind of like jump to like it's nighttime, Kyle, and we're making our way to an island. This is before we meet Honey Rider. This is before we meet her. Just before we meet her.
Yeah.
And my God, filming for night in the 60s is awful. I don't think they were filming at night. I think they were filming during the day. Like, you can see like weird like filters to the edge of the camera that kind of look like lights bleeding in a little bit, and it looks like they've just put like a navy blue filter over the camera, and it's just so dark.
Yeah.
It's just so...
Yeah, it's almost impossible to see.
Yeah, really bad. Really, really bad. Sometimes when, like, I presume the sun, though I think they wanted it to be the moon, bounces off the water, it looks okay. But that's only because you're catching bright light reflecting. There's, like, nothing. It's so dark.
Yeah, well, this is another case of Quarrel being the workhorse of this movie, because Quarrel voices many times that there's all these, like, local superstitions about this island.
Yeah.
There's a dragon on it, apparently.
Oh, this is where I feel so bad for Bond.
His faces though are great whenever they're talking about this dragon, and Bond's just like, "Oh, are you serious? Are you? There's no such thing as dragons, you fucking idiots."
He's like, "Are you both mad? It might have looked like a dragon, but dragons aren't real. It must have been something else." Turns out, Bond, it was a tank.
It was a tank, but it looks objectively nothing like a dragon.
Listen, Quarrel is someone who's from the Cayman Islands, right? And they're little, small islands, quite far off the coast of Jamaica to the west, right? Maybe they're it's the 60s, he probably grew up in the 30s and 40s, right? Sure, there's some superstition by local islanders about there being a dragon that lives in this one specific isolated island off the coast of Jamaica, right? Fine. Honey Rider's some white rich Westerner that's got to go back to New York to sell her seashells, right?
Yeah.
Why does she believe in
knows why.
dragons?
Yeah. She doesn't just. She says that she's seen it.
Yeah.
And she's using that to confirm Quarrel's stories. Like, oh no, there's a dragon here. I've seen it.
Yeah, and Bond's just so over it. He's like, oh, not you two. Not you.
The crazy thing for me too is a little bit later when they're up the river and she points to what are clearly tire tracks on the ground and says, "See, dragon tracks." Like, those are tire tracks, Honey Rider.
Yeah, like what
are you talking about?
Have we gone through an anomaly from Primeval? Are we in the 1400s?
Do you not know what tires look like?
Yeah, like, you're in this water to throw the scent off the dogs, and then you're looking at tire tracks, and you know how to breathe through a tube to hide underwater as like a snorkel so they won't see you, but you don't know what a car is. Okay, Honey Rider. Okay.
Yes. Look, Honey Rider, she explains that she has a pretty traumatic backstory, so maybe she's just not thinking straight.
Sure. Yeah, what's her traumatic backstory again?
Okay, let me think. She explains this to Bond, that she has, like, a totally unrelated relation to Dr. No, where it's like, I think her dad was murdered by Dr. No.
And she's just on this island for unrelated reasons? Or is, like, the seashell
Well,
stuff bullshit?
she used to come to this island with her dad to collect these seashells.
I see. Okay, yeah. That's when I was looking at my phone.
Yeah.
This is when I was looking at inflation from 1962.
Well, yeah, this story goes places and doesn't really... It's like Honey Rider's big acting moment, I guess. This is what she got her Oscar for. What was it?
Golden Globe.
Academy Award. Golden Globe.
Yeah. She wouldn't get an Academy Award for this kill. Let's not be, you know.
Yeah, so she explains her dad died. She got stranded in the Cayman Islands, and this guy took her in, and then it's heavily implied that he took advantage of her in not so great ways.
Okay, yeah.
And after that, she murdered him with poison.
Yep, uh-huh.
And Bond's just like, well, you shouldn't make a habit of doing that, but, you know, I guess it's understandable.
Yeah, Bond's done worse. Bond's thinking about himself in this moment.
But the weirdest part of all of this, of all Honey Rider's backstories, it never comes up again, and, like, she has no interaction with Dr. No at all, I don't think.
Listen,
so,
they abandoned Sylvia
what's the point of any of
Trench,
this?
you know? But see, so after, like, they get past, like, the dogs and the guards and stuff, when they're getting away, after they've left the beach, and they're walking into, like, this little cove area where they think that's, like, her hiding place.
Yes.
And after that, it pans to this big comical cartoon drawn by a 5-year-old danger sign beyond this point.
Yes.
I was like, right, okay, so no, we're just not acknowledging that was there, are we? But what...
Well, they didn't see it, Nathan, only we saw this dramatic irony.
What is her hiding space? Is it in Dr. No's lair? She's like, oh, this big building, that's my hiding spot?
Yeah, I don't actually know, because we never really make it to her hiding space, do we?
No, we don't. We get captured.
Yes, well, the dragon shows up, and the dragon, it looks like something out of Robot Wars. It's a very strange design.
Yeah, it's got paint on it, like, to have eyes and stuff. Like, they're trying to fool people into people thinking that it really is a dragon. No one's that dumb. Well, apparently Quarrel and Honey Rider are that dumb. Like, when I see, like, a Spitfire in World War II with, like, dragon teeth in the front of it and, like, eyes.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god, a dragon!
Yeah, oh my god, a dragon, yeah. Right? It's called a Spitfire. Whoa! That was a fucking plane. You know?
Well, that seems funny too, because Bond's like, you take out the driver, I'll take out the brakes or something like that.
Yep.
And then they just aimlessly fire their thing at this thing that's obviously bulletproof.
Yep. Big and metal for a reason, Bond. Big and metal for a reason.
Yeah, so Bond gets Quarrel killed in that moment.
Yeah.
Is what happens.
Yeah, Bond's
there.
a bad guy there. He just... Quarrel, you're going. You're moving on.
It's not a pleasant death either. He gets burned to death.
Yeah, he's cremated. Alive. Yeah. F in the chat to Quarrel. Our first big F of this series.
It's true.
Not our first F,
It's true.
but our first big one. Our first one worth noting.
I thought Quarrel was going to become a recurring character in all these movies, Nathan.
Yes, I was.
Bond's good friends.
Yeah. He's going to be the fixer, you know?
You know, they start off with a misunderstanding because they think Bond's a bad guy, but, you know, they work together in the end.
But he's working for Felix Leiter, you know?
As well as a guy, I have to mention this, Felix Leiter's other, like, accomplice is a guy called Pussfeller.
Yeah, he is. I didn't note it, but yeah, you're right.
Nothing else is relevant about that character other than the fact that his name is Pussfeller.
Nope.
So
completely right. Kel, when we see the henchmen for Dr. No, they're in radiation suits on the surface, right? And the first time we
Yes.
see them, I'm like, are they wearing like Star Trek, the original series, like spacesuits? And I was like, William Shatner, is that you? Is it you? And no,
Well, you know Shatner, he shows up all over the place.
he shows it all over the place. I'm surprised he didn't show up in one of these films.
He should have played Felix Leiter. That would
He'd
be
been a
fun.
great Felix Leiter. I think he's too soft, personally. I don't think he's got the edge. He'd have a little bit of edge to be Felix Leiter, you know?
Right,
I think William Shatner could play Felix Leiter today. He's got a lot of edge. But not back then. Not back then. He's too skinny and soft.
He's too Captain Kirk.
Yeah, he's too baby skinned, you know? I think Felix like a little bit gruff, you know, like he's seen some stuff. But we're in a moving conveyor belt, Kyle, to get detoxified. And
Yes, it's they're being scrubbed of radiation.
they scrub their
because
clothes
they-
and then strip them naked.
Yes. Well, I guess the danger sign was warning of radiation, right?
Yep.
So, but it doesn't have any consequences for them. They don't start getting radiation poisoning or anything.
No, they do not. Not at all. Not at all. We didn't know much about radiation back in the 1960s, Kyle.
I guess not.
No. But this is where Austin Powers gets its inspiration for the defreezing process.
Yes.
Remember? Reanimation process complete. Remember that?
Yes, I remember.
That's this. I'm just going to see how many of Austin Powers references I can take out of this franchise. I know there's
Probably a lot.
Yeah, there's probably a lot,
Yeah.
right? But like, yeah, I just want to bring them up as and when I catch them. I will miss some. Okay, I'm not a Bond scholar, and I'm not an Austin Powers scholar either. So there'll be some that I miss.
Something I have to point out about this too is they cuff Bond for obvious reasons. They don't bother cuffing Honey Rider.
She's a woman, Kyle.
She's a woman.
What's she gonna do?
That really is the feeling of it. It's like, well, we don't have to worry too hard because she
Bond cares for her, right? Because he's like, do her first,
Yeah,
and
well,
then like one of the Chinese in a very American accent, it's like, we give the order to your pal, and then he's like, that's fine, but take these off, take the handcuffs off, and then that's when it occurred to me. I was like, where the fuck's Honey Rider's? Like, if you're doing her first, why are you taking his cuffs off first? And I was like, oh, she isn't wearing it.
Yeah. She isn't handcuffed. Yeah.
And they both get stripped down, even though we've just detoxified their clothes. Why even detoxify the clothes?
Yeah, just burn them. Like, you're not going to keep
They
them.
ruined his lovely blue denim number.
Yes, well, this was the twist I kind of liked, as they go through this radiation process and they go into what looks like a cell, and then the back of the cell opens up and they're in like a fancy hotel, and like, oh, okay.
I love
That's a cool little
this
reveal.
because the staff in there like offer Bond a cigarette. Don't talk to Honey Rider at all. Just to patch her. He's completely blank her, and like he loves it. He takes a cigarette, doesn't assume they're poisoned, even though we saw a guy earlier in the movie take one of a cyanide cigarette. Kyle Mr. Jones.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Bond is a bad spy.
Yeah, Bond's
yes.
bad. He just he takes the light, he lights up, and he puts his hand in his pocket, in his little dressing gown pocket, and then he's so chill, you know. It's he's got his cigarette, and he's got his hand in his pocket, and he's just loving life. And Honey Rider's just standing there looking perplexed, like what the hell's going on? And this is just like another day for James Bond, apparently.
Yeah. Well, this is a very weird scene too, because Bond is like, you got to eat something. We don't know where we're going to have a chance to eat again. It makes sense.
Yep.
But also, it's probably poisoned, which it turns out it is. But then it doesn't actually matter at all that it was poisoned.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter at all. But can I before we get too far past this introduction bit, sorry, I want to note. So they get hosed and showered down, right? Mm-hmm. And Honey Rider's like soaking, her hair's all slicked back and everything, right? And it still looks wet. Sean Connery looks like he's just walked out of a fucking makeup trailer. Like his hair's perfect. You know, he's got the chiseled, tanned face, you know? And the hair's perfect. It looks like he's walked right out of a poster for the film. From the neck up. And Honey Rider's just like looking soaked through. You can still see like wet on her neck and everything, and just Sean Connery looks fine.
That's playing with the gender tropes. You know, normally it's the lady who always looks perfect, even when you cut away from all that stuff. But no, this time Bond's the one he's looking.
Yeah,
good.
we're upping some men's egos here because men get sad too.
He's got that waterproof hair gel.
Waterproof, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he's got on Kyle. Not even radiation disinfectant can get through that. But yeah, so you're right. We go to their rooms and their measurements just arrived, Kyle.
Yes.
Because apparently, where did they get their measurements from? When did Bond go to a tailor?
I mean, Bond definitely gets a suit tailored. I don't know where they would have that on file.
In Savile Row, he says in this film.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, where's Dr. No getting his London tailoring records from?
Maybe that's why they drugged them. Maybe they were just lying about it. Like, maybe they got the measurements while they were sleeping.
Yeah, that's why they got drugged. See, I thought, because again, I've seen this movie before, but I just misremembered it. When she took the tea, he was like using her to see if the tea was drugged. Like, I thought that's what he was doing. That was my memory of the scene when she started. I was like, all right, he's testing to see.
Nathan, just to correct you, it is coffee and not tea.
Oh, I apologise. He's testing the coffee on Honey Rider, and if she passes out, he knows it's drugged. That's what Bond should have done if he was competent. Instead,
because he's a sociopath.
Because the camera follows her up and walking around with it, and then she sits down. And as she sits down, he's already there, and he's just slurping away. He's having a great drink of that cup of Joe. I was like, Bond, what are you doing? It's poison. I thought you were testing it on Honey. Apparently, you're not testing it on Honey Rider. You're just parched. And they say, like, we might not get to eat again. They didn't eat. They had a drink. And yeah, they wake up in their beds. They're all, like, in their pajamas and tucked in. And
yeah, well, there's a shot where we see Dr. No, like, with his robot hands coming in to look at him, and then that's just a pointless scene.
Yeah, because we wake up again, and it's like, oh, it's dinner time. I think it's to give the feeling of vulnerability. You know, this man's got Bond right where he wants him, and he's asleep, and he ain't waking up. This ain't a spider, you know? That's the film's intention. I'm not necessarily saying how effective it is. I mean, I think it conveys that. I just think it's a silly way to convey it.
Yes.
You know, like, we're about to be in a scene where you're punching lumps out of him strapped to a chair. We're going to see that he's vulnerable and powerless, right? Mm-hmm. It's just creepy. It's like seedy. It's perverted, Kyle. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, I guess we should talk about Dr. No. He is the Bond villain of this movie.
He's the titular of the film, the titular character.
He sure has a distinct look, Nathan. You know, the Bond villains, they all need a distinctive look, and his look is looking sort of like a Star Trek alien with weird face prosthetics.
Is he wearing prosthetics? I just thought that was the look of the guy.
Oh no, he's definitely wearing, like, eye prosthetics to make his eyes look more Asian.
Oh, really? Okay. I think I have a picture of the actor here. Still got the cast list up. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures, like, side by side of, like, him and Dr. No, and him as just a person. Mm-hmm. I don't think he looks Asian at all in the film, though.
I think that, I mean, they're definitely trying to make him look Asian.
Yeah, I see when you say that, I can see the attempt, but watching the film, like, it doesn't even occur to me, because, like, we live in an era so far past where that was an acceptable thing to do. You
don't even consider it as an option.
Yeah, it's Star Trek done this, right, with Lincoln, where he says, like, a racial slur to Uhura, and she doesn't even, like, it doesn't even click to her that that's the thing. Like, that's where I am looking at this interpretation of, oh, he's supposed to be a Chinese man. Is he? Is he?
Well, like, he's supposed to be half Chinese. They say he has, like, an American mother, I think, or something Chinese like mother. That. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So he's, like, half Chinese. Okay. And
which is just their excuse to cast a fully white guy, basically.
Yeah. The first time I watched this, Kyle, I didn't know he had metal hands.
No, they make his hand thing kind of unclear. Because at first I thought they were just sort of like prosthetics, just like sticks, basically, right?
Yeah, I thought he had just
porcelain. That's the word I'm looking for. I thought they were made of porcelain or something.
Well, I didn't even know they were fake. I thought he must have had like radiation compromised hands, like they were melting, and he was like in sort of like safety Vaseline leather type, kinky gloves.
Yeah, I think he explains that he was born without hands or something.
I thought he said it was the price of his radiation experiments.
It was one of those.
I thought it was like, who's a guy know only too well what radiation can do to someone, and he lifts his hands. Kyle, I'm surprised you don't know who this is.
Why are you surprised by that?
Because he's a fellow Canadian, Kyle. He's from Montreal.
Oh yes, and of course. All Canadians know each other, of course.
You, Kyle, you live in Canada Street.
I live in 123 Canada Street.
Yeah, exactly, right? Why don't you know him? He's French Canadian, maybe that's why. Yeah. You don't speak any French, do you?
No.
No. No. Okay, you.
Yeah, he's not the most threatening of Bond villains that we're going to get in this franchise.
No.
No, indeed.
We're hitting out with those.
Puns, Nathan, they write themselves.
They do. They just simply leap off the page. But yeah, so he has metal hands, but like, who would have thought you would have thought to design some grips in them, right?
Well, it's the 60s. I don't think. I mean, it's obviously fictional, but he doesn't seem to have a good range of movement. But it's kind of impressive that he has any movement at all in them. To be fair.
Yeah. I feel like they're like he has to use his elbows to like set his hands in the direction he wants.
Yeah, it seems to be something like
he just
that.
sort of his fingers never move. He just sort of uses his hands as clubs to sort of lift things.
Yes.
He can hold a cigarette.
He can hold a cigarette, and it does seem like he can feed himself, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe he has dinner time hands.
I don't think they thought this through, to be honest.
No. No, I mean, that's why I never assumed they were metal hands, Kyle, because I thought, well, they must, like, his bones must be under them, you know?
Yeah, like, there's not a servant there, like, feeding him, so, like, he must be able to do it.
I kind of think the idea, though, because obviously the trope of Bond movies having disfigurements and all that, you know, there's a discussion to be had there if that's appropriate for depictions of sale people.
Well, yes.
But in terms of picking a Bond movie villain with the thing to have, I think the idea of metal hands is quite interesting. It's just, it's their first film, so it doesn't look great.
I will say, Dr. No's lair, though, is some classic Bond lair stuff.
Oh, yeah, they got the mink carpets, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got the big fancy flash dinner table.
Yep. He's got... It's like metal corridors, but then you go into his room and it's all this fancy gauche stuff, you know?
Yeah. And he's going to destroy this base, Kyle. He says that after his work is complete, I'm doing it like I'm Sean Connery that's saying this.
Yeah.
He says that he's going to rip it all down and start again somewhere else, as is his job.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do that?
I guess because it's compromised.
But he says he does that wherever he goes. Like, is it compromised because he does this everywhere? He's like, oh, the Russians are going to launch a rocket. Quickly, build a base in Kazakhstan. Is that what he does?
I think so, yeah.
That takes too long.
I think that's the implication.
Sure, but they're launching rockets all the time. He must be jet-setting around. I don't think they thought this through, Kyle. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think they thought this through because, okay, after this, well, during this scene, there's just a weird bit where Bond is like, we don't need to involve Honey Rider in this.
Yeah.
And so, Doctor is like, okay, sure, I don't care, take her away to be executed, whatever. And then Bond's like, wait, no, that's not what I meant.
But then, like, that's what they're going to do to Bond, because, so this is the part where, like, he's a member of Spectre, Kyle, and we get what Spectre is. Also, I mean, I haven't read the books, but for, like, thinking of the Bond franchise, like, that's a pretty big swinger to introduce straight away, right?
It definitely implies, like, they were already planning to make multiple movies.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I mean, you know, good for them, of course. It's good foresight.
Well, also, I think Dr. No says exactly in that point, it's like, well, I can tell you because I'm going to kill you, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, you know, this is the basis of Dr. Evil, right? I'm going to leave you in an easily escapable room where, you know, I'm just going to assume that it all went to plan.
Yes. This is a classic example of that, for sure.
Yeah, right? So it's like, okay, you see as how you don't want to join Spectre and become basically one of, like, my lieutenants, I guess that would be. Because he wouldn't be just like a general thug. I'm assuming he's like jumping in mid-hierarchy.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to join you. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to put you in a cell and it's going to have electrified vents, I guess. Because he gets shocked.
Yeah, well, he puts him in the cell that happens to connect to the massive interconnected duct network of the place, which also fills with water sometimes and is also hot. I have no idea what these tunnels are or what they do.
So, like, what is this supposed to, like, is this room meant to be like a watery grave for him? Are they going to, like, throw water in there to drown him?
Well, maybe.
And it's going to electrocute him because it's an electric fence? Even though one shot of it seems to deactivate the electrics.
Well, later on when he rescues Honey Rider, she's like tied up on the floor and it seems like they're going to slowly drown her with the tide, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They do not linger on it at all. It's just like James Bond gets her out of that room and no one talks about what they were doing in there.
No. Careless, we're not lingering on the women's plot. She's had her moment.
She had her big Golden Globe moment.
Yeah, she had her Golden Globe moment, yeah.
But yeah, these tunnels are, I mean, fair enough. He's going full Die Hard in these tunnels, right? Before Die Hard exists.
Oh yeah, he's even his dinner shirt has been turned into a vest.
Yeah, he's ripped up his shirts. He has to like rip up his coat to tie around his hands so his hands don't get burned.
Yep.
It was really not clear to me at first that the ground was supposed to be hot.
Yeah, you see some like steam coming off it. I never quite knew what that was.
That's when I understood what was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's hot. Okay.
Yeah, it's hot. Right. Okay. But you know, like he braces himself when the water's coming. I was like, oh my god, you're so strong. Like that would have ripped people away. Good for you, Bond.
But yeah, there's water rushing down this pipe. I don't know what this pipe is for.
Maybe it's to feed the coolant for the reactor.
It feels like a video game level.
But you know how like you need to like put rods. I've seen Chernobyl. You need to put the nuclear rods into the to the water.
Okay,
to
so is
cool.
he being doused in heavy water then? Is that what's
I think
happening?
he's been doused in radioactive water, Kel, if it's that hot. Cause it's...
That's what heavy water
yeah,
is.
yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah.
I was just using the technical term to show off.
Yeah,
Nathan,
sorry,
that's what I was doing.
you've outed me as being an imbecile, Kyle. Yeah. So, yeah, he's being doused in heavy water, and he's not irradiated by this at all because he held on. If it swept him away, he would have been radiated, but he's fine.
Right.
And then he makes...
Well, later in this movie, they're having, like, a big fist fight over the radioactive rods.
Yes, with splashes going everywhere. But so he makes it to the concierge where he gets shower care and verified earlier, and a guy called Chen, who apparently is critical to the test it's undergoing. It's just out there. He walked out.
Oh yeah, I think he's on his bathroom.
He's on
break.
a bathroom break or something. In Bond, I quite like the shot though. So the Bond disappears out of frame, and we linger on Chen. I think his name's Chen.
Mm-hmm. It sounds right.
And the camera sort of jumps on him being jumped by Connery, Bond, I guess, and it takes him behind the screen. The frosted glass screen door. You can clearly see what's happening.
Yeah, and we see it in silhouette. Yeah.
And he's getting choked down to the ground, and Bond's knocked him out or killed him because Bond's a psychopath. And he's put him down to his britches and put on his Star Trek spacesuit.
Yeah, no one questions that Chen is suddenly a white British man.
He's got the mat. You can't see. No one can see through those things.
Sure.
But what I do find
only
funny
Dr. No has a different suit, which is funny.
because he has space to put the microphone. Because when he's shouting, he's not holding the
Yes.
mic to his face. He's holding it to like the hole in the spacesuit.
Yes.
But he's like, what is our radiation levels? And everyone's going, check, sir, check. And then it gets to Chen, who's now Bond, and he's just awkwardly standing behind him with a clipboard. And he's like, why aren't you in position? And why does he know where to go? There's already a guy up there. Why would you think to join him up there?
Well, he says, get up on the thing.
I say he gets to the station or something like that.
Yeah.
So he goes up there and like he just sort of stands and takes notes. But like Dr. No asked a question, what are the radiation levels? And then he just shouted at Chen to get into position. He never finds out what those radiation levels are.
Well, Bond has to get in front of the giant valve that says danger level, Nathan. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure like he'd be like, right, okay, Chen, now you're there. Tell me the levels.
I love how direct that is in set design though. It's a big valve that says danger level, and then Bond turns up the danger level valve.
Yeah, because we're raising the stakes, Kyle.
Yeah.
You see the guy that's already up there is
Also-
just wearing like a puffy suit, like he's just got a t-shirt underneath it.
Yeah, he doesn't have a radiation suit on, which doesn't make any sense.
He's just like wearing like a plastic bag with air trapped in it.
But yeah, Bond times this, so they're all watching the TV with the rocket, and he just starts turning this valve in the middle of the room, and it's kind of silly that no one would see this happen.
Yep.
Even out of the corner of their eye.
Well, the guy up next to him eventually notices, then he gets like knocked out or something. Can't remember what happens to him.
Yeah.
He falls off the
Bond
edge.
punches him over the railing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then, like, because they're watching this year, right, they're watching this American rocket leave Cape Canaveral or something, and Dr. No's lair has activated a satellite that's going to send rays to, like, interrupt the rocket fuel.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. But they show the outside shot, and like a thing comes out of the water, and it's a little satellite dish.
I know what he's doing. I've been able to ascertain that. I just don't know why he's doing it. I think he's doing it to just extort the government and be like just a chaos merchant. Like, he's just doing it to be powerful.
Right, okay.
He has a literal
I was
mustache
thinking
twirling
this
villain.
too, because another weird thing about this is Felix Leiter, he's earlier in the movie, he establishes the Bond, like, we've got 48 hours before that rocket launch is, and after that, like, we're screwed. So you would think that Felix Leiter would time his raid on the island for before the rocket launch? Surely?
Absolutely.
Because I was expecting at any moment in this movie, it's like, okay, any moment now, Felix Leiter is going to come in with the Marines and they're going to storm the building.
Like that bit in
right?
Austin
'Cause we
Powers.
established this earlier in the movie, yeah. And then that just never happens.
Never happens. Bond saves the day without the need of those pesky Yanks, Kyle. It's the British stiffer for lip saves the day.
All he had to do was turn a valve, and it destabilizes the entire base. They did not invest very well in their safety precautions.
Yeah.
You know?
We turned up the radiation
need
to an
some
unstable
redundant safety
level.
systems.
Yeah, exactly. So then, when everyone's evacuating, everyone just cuts and runs. Dr. No's like, I will go and stop him personally with my big metal hands. I can climb this ladder with no grip on these gloves. Don't you worry. But I can't grip a metal pole down at the radiation chamber, down at the radiation water level, because the elevator to the thing's going lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, and he sinks into the radioactive water like the Terminator.
Yeah, gives a little thumbs up with his metal hand. He doesn't.
No.
Goes out like a bitch, though, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Sure does. Good old Dr. No. F in the chat, Dr. No. Hardly knew you.
Hardly know you.
Alright. Again, he done it. He done it again, guys.
And then it's a classic evacuation scene in any of these movies where Bond is running through the halls and there's people running in all different directions. To be fair, the space doesn't seem like it has good fire exit safety, you know?
Well, they have big things above the door saying escape, evacuate, stuff like that, like in the main chamber.
But when he's in the halls, there's people running in both directions.
It's like a corridor in Starship Enterprise.
Yes, it's exactly like that. Yeah, all the red shirts are running to their stations.
Yeah, exactly. And Honey Rider's now reunited with Bond once again, and we're getting out of here. Mm-hmm. And we get into a little sailing boat. I don't know who's it belonged to.
Yes.
Was this?
I guess it's just one. It's just one of the henchman boats.
It's a little crappy wooden boat. Is this not the boat him and Quarrel arrived on? Maybe.
Why would that be docked at the island?
The henchman took it earlier on the beach. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, Kel.
Well,
maybe it is just one of the. But I just thought Dr. No would have invested in better staff transport, right?
Well, no, because there was a whole thing with that boat earlier where
it's the big
they can only take the engine boat so far, and then they have to switch to a rowboat. But this is definitely an engine boat.
This is definitely, yeah. But I mean, but that's why they need a tow, Kel, from Felix Leiter.
Well, yeah, that's because it runs out of fuel. Yeah.
But that's it, Kel. Really, Felix Leiter shows up and says, "Need a tow." He goes, "There you are, Felix."
He shows up with a bunch of Marines that are shoved into that yacht.
Yep,
Oh my god, they're like falling off the spilling off the edges.
This is like a Normandy evacuation ship. Or not a Normandy, Dunkirk. Yeah. All these little civilian fishing boats. This is where the budget ran out. And maybe
that's why they didn't do the Stormy Marines thing. It's like, we can't afford this action sequence, just have Bond do it.
Exactly, yeah, you're right. So Felix Leiter and the Marines tow Bond and Honey Rider away. Instead of saying, "Hey, come in our boat and we'll leave that heap of shit," no, we'll tow you in your own private boat. And
well, there's clearly not enough space in that yacht.
Well, it is. Okay, that's a fair point. Maybe some of the Marines should have joined Bond and Honey Rider to spread people out so they can breathe a little bit better. But no, so they decide to untie the knot, as it were.
Well, Bond just lets the line relax.
Yeah,
is what happens.
Yeah, so he can get it on with Honey. I thought that's what they were already doing before when Jack Lord showed up. When Felix Leiter arrived.
So did I.
But apparently not.
I guess they're just doing it again.
Just doing it again, going back for seconds. And
while all the Marines
watch. He's a sadist, Kyle. The Vatican said this. And then we get a the end, Kyle, in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Dr.
No.
That's Dr. No. It's not quite there yet, is my review.
It's not quite there yet. I like it more than I remember liking from Russia with Love, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yes. Well, indeed, you've spoiled it. But yes, our next movie will be From Russia with Love, 1963.
It's called a segue.
Maybe that's a year after the first movie.
Yeah, they're really churning these movies out, baby. At least this one. Because this was a hit, you know?
Yeah, this was the MCU of its era.
Yeah, this was Iron Man. You know, we're getting a Mr. Universe actor. He's coming in. He's going to wear the suit. You know, this is the Iron Man suit of the '60s. Little denim number.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Dr. No. 1962's Dr. No led on to the next 6 months of our lives, Kyle. That's what that did. I'm looking forward to this project. I think I enjoyed watching Dr. No more than I have in previous watches of it. Maybe I'll appreciate the other films doing it more as well, because some of these movies are.
Am I allowed to do a little bit of a whinge at Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, see, part of the reason we thought this project was ideal is because recently, a few months ago, they added all Bond movies to Amazon. And I'm like, perfect. Apparently that was temporary, and they're just being removed tomorrow. So, thanks, Bezos.
So I probably should do some disclosure here. I know that this is a thing because they did this last year as well. Mm-hmm. And I remember them being around and it being removed. And when they get added this time, I kind of thought, oh, they're going to remove them again. I have a feeling.
You didn't mention that.
Yeah, I didn't mention that because I kind of was hoping they wouldn't. Like, I thought maybe like the first one was trial to see how they done. And this is like, right, we're bringing them back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was wrong. Because Amazon bought MGM and they have they don't have say over the creative works of the Bond franchise, but they basically own the whole MGM catalogue now, and Bond was like the one sort of holdout where they're like, you own all of our catalogue except Eon are still going to hold control over the Bond franchise. You're not going to start it's like when they bought Lord of the Rings and they start greenlighting TV shows. they can't do that with Bond. Bond apparently still is like
Right.
vice gripped by Eon and Barbara Broccoli and etc. You know.
Yes.
So
Is Cubby Broccoli still around?
no, he's gone. No, this is
That's a shame.
this is the olden days, Kyle. This is his daughter. Right, Kyle, sing us out. Where can we find you online?
I think as the host, I'm supposed to ask you that first.
You are.
Nathan, where can the people find you online?
Kyle, the people can find me online as always at Nathan Tinney on all social media hosting platforms. I'm there all the time talking nonsense, and I'm also in Kyle's comment sections from time to time. Trying to make a push on Blue Sky though at the moment, so give me a little follow over there.
Nathan, should I make a Blue Sky account?
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, you're not going to use it anymore than your Twitter account, but I promise you at the moment it's a much less toxic place.
Okay, I'll look into it. And on top of that, you can of course find me at Kyle the Scott on YouTube, where I make video essays and game critiques. I'm currently working my way through Assassin's Creed as per usual.
As per.
So that'll be ongoing. And other than that, I stay off social media for my own mental health for the most part. But yes. And you can of course check out our entire back catalogue. We have 2 previous seasons now. We have Enter the Snyderverse, where we went through all of the DCEU, and Enter the X-Verse, where we went through all of the Fox X-Men movies. So you can watch through all of those, or listen through, I suppose. And yes, we will see you next time. From Russia with love.